Imagine waking up one morning, stretching your arms, and realizing you're no longer the size of an ordinary human. Overnight, your body has transformed to match the size of the greatest creatures to ever walk the earth, the dinosaurs. But what would happen to our world if 8 billion humans suddenly grew to dinosaur proportions? Let's start small. Not every dinosaur was a towering beast. Some were tiny, like the Microraptor, a feathered dinosaur about the size of a 1-foot Subway sandwich. If every human shrank down to this scale instead of growing, life would instantly become absurd. Door handles would be out of reach, smartphones would look like flat-screen TVs, and even climbing the stairs would feel like ascending a skyscraper. You'd also find yourself at the bottom of the food chain. Pigeons, rats, and cockroaches would suddenly be terrifying predators. A single house cat would be like facing off against a lion. And forget about emergency services, cars, buses, and planes wouldn't work at this size. Humanity would be reduced to surviving in tiny tribes, hiding in the cracks of buildings we once built. But let's head in the other direction. Imagine humans growing to the size of the Utahraptor, about 1.8 meters tall, 6 feet. Honestly, not much would change. This is already close to the size of many people today. You might notice small health benefits, since taller people sometimes have lower chances of cardiovascular disease. But being slightly bigger wouldn't collapse society. Dating profiles might finally become honest, but civilization would remain intact. Now let's scale things up further. The Triceratops. At 2.8 meters, or over 9 feet tall, your body will weigh more than 130 extra kilograms. At this size, the strain on your joints and spine would be constant. Doors would be too small, beds too short, and showers impossible. Everyday life would turn into an obstacle course of smashed door frames and aching backs. Still, with effort, humans could adapt. Homes could be rebuilt, furniture redesigned, and medicine advanced to handle taller bodies. But the real trouble begins when we reach the legendary Tyrannosaurus Rex. At 12 feet tall, weighing several tons, the human body wouldn't just ache, it would break. Our skeletons aren't designed to support that kind of mass. Knees would shatter under the pressure, hips would grind, and walking would require braces, canes, or even wheelchairs. And your brain? It wouldn't scale well. The electrical signals in a brain that large would have to travel longer distances while moving at the same speed. Reaction times would double. Imagine trying to catch a falling glass, but your brain doesn't even register the drop until it's already shattered. Humanity will become clumsy giants, too slow and too fragile to function. But let's push this to the extreme. The Sauroposeidon, the tallest dinosaur ever discovered. Standing 18 meters high, or nearly 60 feet, this monster towered above forests like a living skyscraper. If every human suddenly grew to this size, civilization would end overnight. First, the math. The average adult human weighs around 70 kilograms. At Sauroposeidon proportions, each person would weigh over 80,000 kilograms. That's 176,000 pounds. Multiply that by 8 billion people, and the Earth itself might groan under the sudden pressure. Skyscrapers would crumble, houses would collapse, and cars would be crushed like soda cans beneath our feet. Cities would turn into death traps. Streets designed for vehicles would become canyons too narrow for bodies the size of buildings. Rural areas wouldn't be much better, because gravity itself would betray us. Our muscles, no matter how strong, couldn't carry such mass. Hearts wouldn't pump blood fast enough to reach our brains. Within minutes, billions of people would collapse, unable to stand under their own weight. And that's before considering the chaos of infrastructure. Roads would split under the pressure. Bridges would collapse. Power lines, plumbing, and transportation would be destroyed. Agriculture would fail. Farms couldn't produce enough food to feed creatures that consume hundreds of thousands of calories per day. Even if we try, the logistics of feeding billions of Sauroposeidon-sized humans would strip the planet bare in weeks. But perhaps the most terrifying part wouldn't be starvation or even structural collapse. It would be the planet itself fighting back. The Earth's crust can only support so much concentrated weight. Billions of giants pressing down with the force of mountains could trigger earthquakes, landslides, and even volcanic eruptions. Humanity would literally break the ground beneath its feet. At this point, evolution's design becomes clear. Humans aren't small by accident. Our size is balanced, big enough to build civilizations, small enough to survive gravity, hunger, and disease. Stretching that balance even slightly causes pain. Stretch it too far, and it destroys us entirely. So, what would life be like if humans were dinosaurs? At Microraptor size, we'd be helpless prey. At Utahraptor size, not much would change. At Triceratops size, daily life would be painful. At Tyrannosaurus size, we'd be slow, clumsy, and broken. And at Sauroposeidon size, we'd face extinction within days. Evolution made us just the right size to thrive. Not too small, not too large, just human. So the next time you feel insecure about your height, remember this: being taller isn't always better. Imagine if you really were the size of a dinosaur. Would you survive, or would you crumble under your own weight? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to X Imagine for more impossible scenarios that make you see life in a whole new way.